Huawei are everywhere. They're the world's third largest smartphone manufacturer, and you've probably seen their ads everywhere in New Zealand. They know how to make a phone. And they're finishing up 2016 with their top flagship, which is much more competitively priced than their competition. This is the Huawei Mate 9. Just a handful of years ago, we considered a 5-inch screen to be massive, but now we've got smart devices available in every size you can imagine. Now the Mate 9 is big, but it's not that big. These days, it's less about the size of the screen and more about the size of the overall device. With a 5.9-inch IPS display, it sounds like a monster. But if you set it next to an iPhone 6 Plus, which only has a 5.5-inch display, you'll see that they're basically the same size. The difference is Huawei have virtually removed the side bezels, allowing them to squeeze way more phone into the same footprint. Now the screen is sitting at only 1080p, but it looks really good. Colors are vibrant with a good amount of contrast, and it can also get really bright outdoors, as well as quite dim for late night browsing. The build quality is also excellent, unibody aluminium, in a color they call mocha brown, with the face of the phone having this subtle radial pattern. I think it looks quite good and definitely stands out in a sea of black phones. Now under the hood, the Mate 9 is running Huawei's brand new Kirin 960 octa-core processor, which is running on new architecture for both the CPU and GPU. That paired with 4 gigs of RAM gives this phone more than enough power to fly through everything you can throw at it. From navigating the UI, switching between apps, playing 3D games, it all just works so well now without any hiccups, even when using some of the more intense Android 7 features like split-screen multitasking. Huawei have also implemented a machine learning feature, which they claim actually makes your phone faster over time rather than slower. By learning how you use your phone, optimizing resources for the apps you use, and deprioritizing the ones you don't. Pretty cool, but there's a bunch of things that make this phone special. It has 4 noise-cancelling microphones for getting super clear sound. If you turn the phone on its side, it'll use the bottom speaker combined with the earpiece to give you stereo audio for listening to music. It supports dual New Zealand SIMs, comes with 64 gigs of internal storage, and you can increase that storage up to 256 with a micro SD card. There's also an IR blaster on the top, which is definitely an underrated feature. This turns your phone into a universal remote for controlling TVs. And I had no problems with this, it just works straight out of the box. The battery size is sitting at 4000 mAh, which will last you over a full day of heavy use. And it features Huawei's new supercharged technology. This charges your phone at 5 amps, and Huawei say it can give you a full day of power in only 20 minutes of charging. So let's move on to my favorite part, and that's the cameras. There's actually 3 of them. The front-facing camera is sitting at 8 megapixel, which is more than enough for a few selfies and video calls. And then on the back, we get the remaining 2 cameras. The top is a 20 megapixel monochrome sensor, and below that is a 12 megapixel color sensor. So when you take a photo, color information is captured from one sensor, and then the exposure and light information is painted in with the monochrome sensor, producing JPEGs with a wider dynamic range, and far less details lost in the brighter sections of an image, giving you greater control to play around with. This is definitely an in-depth camera, and if you have time to play around with all the manual settings, you can take some really amazing photos. But of course, if you don't have time, there's also heaps of automatic modes to take advantage of. They also have this wide exposure feature. Here you can take a photo of a subject and then adjust the amount of blur you want in the background to produce images that look like they've been shot on a high-quality DSLR lens. This actually works really well the majority of the time. Sometimes you get a few edges that aren't quite right, but overall it's a really good feature. The Mate 9 can also shoot 4K video, which is really nice. And it has optical image stabilization built in, which does a pretty good job at removing those little jitters you get from moving around. Bottom line is this phone really is top notch. The performance is so fast, and Huawei have implemented some awesome features that just make this handset the complete package. If you're looking for a premium phone with all the bells and whistles, check out the Mate 9 in store or online. I'm Eli from PB Tech, remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.